Pulp MX Network production.
EVS Sports brings you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly on the LVK More Than Moto podcast. Here's your hosts, Lewis Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the EVS Sports LVK More Than Moto podcast. I am Kellen Brauer, joined by Lewis Phillips. It has been a minute since I've seen my dear friend Lewis. He has been in the UK quite a bit, avoided a bit of a hurricane flowing through his area as well. How are you, sir? I haven't seen your face in a while.
Yeah, it's only been 2 weeks, right? But it feels like a very, very, very long time. Like this, actually, no, it's because the last show, we did it early.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So, although chronologically show order, it's been 2 weeks. It's actually been more like 3 or 4. Well, 3 weeks. So yeah, it's been a while. Excited to be back, Kevin.
I'm excited to be back as well. How was your time in the UK, spending it with family?
All I did was digest Nando's and Greg's daily. And to be honest, it was kind of terrible because I wasn't actually that... not the experience was terrible. The fact that I went back was terrible because I didn't really care about like the things that I missed. I'd kind of like gotten out of like, like food, the little intricacies of life that you kind of forget about. But now I've gone back and had a Nando's. All I can think about is, that would be really great if I could have a Nando's right now. And that would be really great if I had this, So it's kind of reset my brain a little bit.
Well,
so I'm going to get out of that.
On the flip side, when you were there, were you like, I really missed something here in the US now?
Well, this is where so I was dying for a Chipotle.
Okay.
The hurricane, all of the Chipotles near me are still closed. So I'm now without my US addictions, but also without my UK addictions. So I'm just cold turkey in every way.
Man, you must just be like having withdrawals at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to try Chipotle again today, but they didn't seem very optimistic yesterday when I stopped by. So stay tuned.
All right.
But we've got a hurricane topic coming up, so stay tuned for that as well.
A hurricane topic. Okay. So we'll deep dive into that. But yeah, generally speaking, there's been quite a few things that have happened since we last spoke. Obviously, Nations happened. Round 1 of Australian Supercross has happened. I think we'll get into some of those topics today. Does it feel like an off season yet? Because to me, I feel like no. Like there's still just a lot going on.
It feels like an off season in the sense that although there is stuff going on, there is little stuff going on that I feel invested in.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I care about Anaheim 1 results very much, whereas although I enjoy Australian Supercross, it doesn't do anything for me. So I'm missing having something like really being fully invested in something. But apart from that, it has been busy. I feel like it's quietening down now. This week's been pretty dead.
A little bit, yeah, I guess. There's nothing really much going on this weekend. But your guys' series is coming back the weekend after that, so it's on.
Your guys' series?
Yeah.
Who?
WSX, bro. It's on.
Steve's series? That's not my series.
It's Steve's series.
I'm not even going.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the show. Let's talk about some stuff here today. As usual, I'll start off with my blind topics. You'll hit me with your blind topics, 7 minutes for each topic. But before we do that, a big thanks to EVS Sports. Experience the pinnacle of knee protection and injury prevention with the EVS Web Eclipse knee brace. For over 39 years, EVS has relentlessly honed their engineering expertise, consistently delivering award-winning knee braces. This legacy of excellence is embedded in every facet of the new Web Eclipse, which represents a culmination of their tireless dedication to innovation and rider safety. Use code LVK30 to save 30% off today. Also, thanks to Namura for presenting the show, the leading provider of engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 2 decades. Namura has been the preferred choice for premium and dependable engine components for more than 20 years. Whether you're restoring your vintage bike, rebuilding your four-wheeler, or upgrading your new 450 race motor, Namura has you covered. Our extensive line of cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and soon cylinder kits that enhance your engine's performance. Keep an eye out for our new and innovative products in 2024 and beyond. Stay up to date by following us on Instagram at Namura_technologies. And of course, Racetech presenting the show. Racetech seminars coming up in November. I believe their suspension ones are just about sold out, but there's still some spots in the engine seminars November 9th through the 10th. And for 40 years, Race Tech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern to vintage, Race Tech is your go-to source for suspension performance. All right, Lewis, my first topic is pretty bland, basic, if you want to call it that, because it's been rehashed a lot already. And you and Adam Wheeler dove deep on this. You and Steve Mathis already dove deep on this, but I haven't really got to talk to you about your thoughts on Motocross of Nations. So I'll just ask you this. If you could give me like a blanket biggest takeaway that you grabbed from Motocross of Nations, is there one thing that is like going to be the standout that we'll remember 5 years from now?
That we will remember, or what I will remember? That is a very important
Give me
detail.
both.
My answer will be. Okay. What I will remember is I had such a good time at the Monster Party on Sunday night, and that, similar to Nando's, as living in my brain, I'm like, fuck, that wish I could redo that, but I can't.
Can we get any like details, like what happened? Who are you with?
It's really good. I've never
Really
had
good.
this experience. It's really good when you go to a club and you know everyone in the club, which I guess is quite a rare experience for anyone, and I'd never lived that. So it's very like I turned up late, walked in. Club was very clubby, and looked around. I was like, "Who's here?" And then I was like, "Oh wait!" Like my cogs started turning. I was like, "Oh, this is literally everyone I know." This is great, superb experience. Shame that I have to wait until Ironman, I guess, and a shame that some people missed out on the party because it would have made it even better. But those people know who they are. From a wider sport perspective, I think my biggest takeaway is, and maybe this is odd also, but my biggest takeaway from 2024 Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations is that it was what?
You said monster probably like 4 times. People are going to think this is an ad.
Oh, well, I'm trying to get better at using like the official names of stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
So now that I have to start again, my biggest takeaway from the Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations was that it was the perfect encapsulation of why the nations matters. A lot of toing and throwing of, is this really relevant in current times? Is it a pain in the arse? Obviously, we had the COVID years, and then Redbud was in America, so I feel like that's always not a true representation of the event. A was difficult because of what we saw with Team USA, and it was quite an injury-riddled year, so it wasn't exactly star-studded, although the event was a success. But this was the Motocross of Nations, or the Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations, at its absolute finest. Incredible lineup. All we were really missing was Chase, but then we gained Eli, so it's kind of a wash, I guess. Obviously, it would have been great to have Chase and Eli, which could have been possible. Yeah, that if you want to tell me the nations doesn't matter anymore, I will go look at this, and I will probably use that example for, to your point, 5 years.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you. Like, this was a fantastic moment for the sport to kind of see this all come together again, especially not on U.S. soil, so it felt a little bit more special. I know beforehand you said like it's not as special in the UK for you, but I feel like that was one of the best things about it, was that it was kind of like maybe the best track in the GP circuit, also having all of these riders come together and race it, and it didn't really rain, so it kind of worked together as well with that. I guess the like I said, the biggest thing for me, like you said, is that it matters again for sure. But it was just nice that kind of all the players showed up. And
not that it matters again.
Well, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's more emphasis of why it's important again.
There's better evidence?
Yeah. Still,
there's a better argument now? I don't know.
Right. But I think I'll remember this the most because it felt like finally all the key players, for the most part, showed up and delivered. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, as we mentioned race, that there was one nation that it was already down riders coming into Sunday or anything like that. Like, we rolled into the final moto with 5, maybe even 6 nations legitimately still having a shot at winning it. And the names that rolled out in Moto 3 that could win it for any nation was incredible. Like, we just don't get this at nations every year, and I feel like we have to cherish that for what it was.
Yeah, I would say with confidence that this was maybe the best nations we've had in a long time from a competitive point of view, but also, well, just a competitive point of view, I guess. But my point being, COVID, rain, because although it did rain, it wasn't a mudder. It was a normal event. I can't remember the last time that we had a nations that good. I would probably say Majora, but then if you look at the Majora race results compared to this, there's no comparison from a star-studded perspective.
Yeah.
And this is also a great example of why the nations has to happen every year, I think, because you have to have, even if you have it every year, you don't capture this lightning in a bottle. So if you have it every 2 years, every 4 years, it's going to become even rarer to capture the lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, no, I agree. The last thing I wanted to ask you about nations is going back to that third race. There's so many different nations that could win it depending on how things went. Do you feel like, looking back, there was any one nation that kind of like blew it? Like they should have probably won it but didn't?
I still would say the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I feel like suddenly I'm the only one on the Netherlands island, which is weird because I feel like there was a lot of hype beforehand. But like, if Koltnoff was better and if he didn't crash in the last moto, if he didn't crash in the second moto, like the Netherlands should have won that. I haven't got the exact number, but Australia won with a total of 26.
26 to 29,
high.
I think.
That's quite high. That's quite high. For a win. Normally it's 19, 18, even 14, 15 in some instances. 26 is high. So I think that in itself points to the fact that many teams could have capitalized on that.
Yeah. I know after the race, there was a lot of hubbub about Prado and all that stuff like that. Do you think that he's going to look back at this as like a missed opportunity of any kind? Because Fernandez was great. He was great in their first motos. And the second moto, Fernandez crashes and Prado just goes in reverse. And I mean, Oriol Oliveira delivered a result that could have helped them win. And at the end, Spain was, 6th or 5th or something. So do you think that's a missed opportunity for Prado?
Yes, but do I believe he cares? No.
Isn't that weird?
I don't know. I guess... I don't know. I think maybe it's different. If you're Prado and you've grown up in Spain, where Spain has basically had zero success at the Nations, maybe you put less stock in the team result because it's like, well, we never did anything. So what's different? Whereas if you're USA, you're like, we have to win. Whereas if you're Prado, you're like, well, I just go out and do my thing, and whatever Spain can do, Spain can do. I don't feel like I've articulated that very well, but I think that is a mindset. I think that is a mindset change based on the history of your nation.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like Spain can win this thing with Prado and Fernandez at some point in the next 5 years or so. And if they never do, I just wonder if he looks back at this and goes, man, if I'd had that first moto, second moto, and Fernandez didn't crash, like there's always ifs and whats and, all that. But I don't know.
I believe if you say that to Prado, he will say, well, the qualifying race on Saturday, I was amazing and I won. I think that would be like...
So he's too individualistic about it, is what you're saying.
That's a bit harsh, but maybe into a degree. But hey, this time next year, Prado, Fernandez, and Fares on a factory triumph.
That's true. Yeah, I mean you're right. When Fares is back,
the favorite. Without knowing the other teams, that's certainly that's hard to beat on paper.
That will be hard to beat. I think it'll be a little, I don't want to say easier, but easier for other nations to do, to beat them on U.S. soil.
I don't know. Prado and Fares would have track experience at that point.
Yeah, but I don't know. We've seen now what rider has come over from GPs and immediately just crushed it on U.S. tracks? Not many.
Yeah, but are you talking about from a series perspective or a nation's perspective?
Yeah, I guess nations. Nations. You're right. Nations always does bring it out a little bit differently, but I don't know. Like, I just don't feel like after Vial being here for a year, he isn't going to be as good on U.S. tracks. Somehow, some way, I feel like that would happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe that both things can be true at the same time, because that's true, but then also Renault won a moto at Red Bud last time, and then Jet and Eli. So I guess that's in support of what you said.
Yeah.
But in 2018, Koldnoff, and who won the first moto that year? Herlings. So yeah, there's evidence for all sides of what you said, but I do believe that all of that can be true at the same time, and it just ends up being a matter of circumstance.
Okay. Well, no more on this topic. Let's move on to our next topic, which, like I said, chronologically speaking, Nations happened. Then round 1 and 2 of Australian Supercross just happened over the weekend at Redcliffe, I think it was called. Anyway, results-wise, Joey Savacci is leading the points right now after 2 rounds, I believe. Dean Wilson looked really good those 2 nights, but Joey was right there with them the whole way. Was there any, surprises in the results so far for you? Did you expect Joey to be more on top of it right away?
There is a surprise. And
okay, hit me.
Night 1 specifically, and I think it was the second main event that really drove this home in my mind. Very surprised that Dean and Joey were that far clear of the Australians, because I, like many others, hold Tanti, Clout, Moss, not so much Beaton in Supercross, because this was essentially his debut, but I hold them to a very, very high regard. So in my mind, I'm thinking Dean and Joey will basically be in the group, maybe half a second a lap quicker than those guys, or, a straight ahead, but it will certainly be competitive. And the second main event on night 1, I think they were 40 seconds clear, 25 seconds clear. So that kind of gave me a lot to think about. That opens a can of worms. Are Dean and Joey that much better when they're away from the pressure cooker of Monster Energy AMA Supercross, to use the full name? Maybe. Or do we put too much stock in the Australians? I don't think so, but the result opens that conversation.
Can I give you my theory behind it?
Sure.
So I think that, and this is not evidentially based, it's just the eye test of it, but I believe that particular group of Australian riders, take Chad Reed and the Lawrence brothers out of it because they've lived in the US for so long, so they got used to it. But that particular group, that track didn't really suit any of them. It was kind of tight, technical, peaky, more, I don't know if I want to say real Supercross is fair, but I feel like Australian rounds in the past that I've seen have been very long run into the rhythm out of a corner to get a 3 very comfortably, and then it flows into another 3. And watching footage and GoPros of it, it seemed like Dean and Joey and stuff were very comfortable at just pivoting and nailing 3s out of corners. They were doing the rhythm after the Supercross triple. They were one of the only guys going 3-3-2 to the inside of that roller that jumped out onto the start straight. They were going opposite rhythm of all those guys because those guys were not comfortable pivoting and jumping big triples out of corners because it's so tight and technical.
Okay, maybe this is another instance where all points can be true, because yes, that makes perfect sense. But then to defend my point, I believe that I am of the opinion that those riders are that capable on any kind of Supercross track. I don't believe that my belief in the Australian talent is filed under as long as the track has these qualities and plays to these strengths.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that they're necessarily bad. I just don't think they're as experienced on even the whoops on that track. Dean and Joey were both going inside and still finding ways to get up on top and blitz them. And all the Aussie guys would have to go outside, pivot, be straight in line going into them to then get up on top. And Dean in the first main event, I think, on Saturday night, he passed, Tanti and Moss or someone else in the whoops on the first lap, easily, just right by them. They didn't look comfortable in it at all to me. So I think that's kind of it.
Counter to that, though, is that Tanti, Moss, pretty much all of the top guys
they've been
have experience in America.
Yeah, but Tanti and Moss have, a couple top 10s? Well, Moss is different, but Tanti, couple, top 10s on a 250? Dean Wilson's borderline won 250 titles and is still competitive in 450 main events. I just feel like there's a disparaging gap that you can point to between them.
Yeah, maybe that is it. Maybe maybe we're looking at this as Dean Wilson, 10 to 15 guy, should be beatable in Australia. But when you then pose it as Dean Wilson, former national champion and Supercross winner, it sounds the complete opposite.
Right.
So it depends on how you look at it. But then also, I don't know, because how relevant is that at this point?
When was the last time Tanti was here? Well, I mean, like full time, not like. Is he here this full time?
Unless I'm going to look like an absolute idiot.
Oh yeah, no, he did sign the deal, but then he got hurt, right?
Yeah, but he was here. I don't think he ever the deal never fell apart.
No, but I'm saying like he didn't race like the full season. I'm talking about like got through a majority of Supercross here. 2020?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Anyway, point being,
RMX on my mind.
Point being, I do think that there is like a maybe not 40 seconds, as you said, but I wasn't blown away that Joey and Dean were better.
No, but blown away, but that they were better by that much? Yes, I was.
Okay. Do you want to talk about SX2 at all? I mean, there was fun chaos. Cole Thompson taking out both of his teammates was interesting. And then the whole thing, I think they all got on the podium the next day. So
talk about SX2 and I will just start another 7-minute discussion about the curious case of Shane McElrath.
Yeah, why is he racing SX2? I just don't get that. And then he's going to do it for WSX again?
Where is his career going and what is he doing and how have we ended up here just 4 short years from his Star Yamaha success? And I'll start all of that again, so it's best you just don't lead me down that path.
Okay, fair enough. Between Dean and Joey, though, what you've seen through 2 rounds, do you have one that you think is going to get this done over the other?
You know, honestly, I don't. And I said this last week that the Dean versus Joey battle would be must-see TV. And I got a surprising amount of backlash saying that actually, like, no, that'll be terrible. No one cares.
As in, like, Joey will be better?
No, just people saying no one cares. Like, who cares? But okay. I do genuinely still subscribe to the theory that Dean versus Joey is going to be, like, super good. Super good.
No, I mean, I think they, maybe right now on a 450 in the US, I'd put Joey slightly above Dean. But you put them on the same stretch of racetrack together consistently, I feel like speed-wise, Dean might have a slight upper hand, just doesn't have the distance maybe that Joey does. And then that, like you said, probably makes a little better television, no? Would I not say that, and I don't know why I'm asking you what I would say, but I would say Joey is better than Dean at the moment? Yeah. No, I thought you just said Dean is better. No, I'm saying Dean speed-wise might have like a little... I think Dean can lay down a fast lap still. That's better than what Joey could probably do, in my opinion. I don't know, again, looking at the past, but the last time that Joey raced 450 Supercross, presuming he's still at that level, I feel like that is a tad better than Dean. Yes, that's what I mean. But I'm saying over the distance of a main event, I would put Joey above Dean, yes. Okay. But you're saying Dean can bridge the gap for a fast lap. Yes, and I think so far what we've seen, it looks like Dean's maybe a slightly better starter down there than he is than Joey. So, which is hilarious because I feel like the Dean playbook for so long has been that his starts are terrible. I know, but he ended up in front of him 3 times or so. I don't know, but they battled was the point. They had good battles. They got away from the field, like you said, and I don't know. I don't have a favorite, I guess. Neither do I, and that's good. That's what we want in all series at all times. Yes. All right, so that is my 2 moto topics today. My non-moto is actually a moto topic, but I want to pick your brain on this, Lewis. Wait, you told me you had a riddle. It is a riddle. Oh, okay. But I want a moto riddle. Because this is the dumbest thing I know, but I was thinking about this yesterday because I was filming at Paris Raceway. And you and I, in our careers, have had to walk across the track a few times in our life, right? Yes. To get to the infield or to some place very quickly, right? So I want to ask you this. If there's no over-under bridge on a track, right? So it's just a standard racetrack, doesn't ever cross over each other. If you cross the track an even number of times, so twice, 4 times, whatever, you always end up on the outside of the track. True or false?
No matter where you start from.
No matter where. Well, okay, no, you have to start outside of the track. But if you cross an even number of times, you always end up outside the track again.
No, because it's not a case. There's multiple bits of track to cross.
Okay, so explain to me how you cross the track twice and end up in the infield if you started on the outfield or out of the track.
Okay, opposite. I'm changing my answer.
So it is true.
Yes.
Okay, and do you want to? Now that you've done it in your head, explain why.
Because I was thinking that, like, if a part of the track loops in the middle.
Yeah, but I'm saying it doesn't cross each other.
No, but like I'm thinking like it's not like you got lots of.
So it goes in yeah.
But technically, you've still got an outside, even if it looks inside. What is the answer?
Yes, it's true because if you cross it twice, like you're saying, if you have like Washougal is almost a track that you just drew in my mind. Let's say you cross.
I literally just
you just kind of did this and it looked like Washougal to me. But let's say you cross by the mechanics area, right? And then immediately cross through the first turn. So you go mechanics area and then you just walk across the whole shot line. You're outside the track again.
Yeah, I'm just doing Matterly in my head.
Okay,
no,
so
right. No, you're wrong.
Oh, tell me.
Matterly, you've got pit lane,
okay,
start straight, and then the other straight after the finish. So you could go from the outside, across that straight, you're still in the middle. Across the start straight, you're still in the middle.
How is that outside? What are you talking about? You went outside across the start straight.
No, I'm.
Where you stood?
I'm on the fan side of the finish.
Fan side of the finish.
Yep. And then I'm crossing to the place where Jet set up the pass on Geyser.
Yep.
Then I'm crossing the start straight.
You just crossed 3 times.
No, twice. I can't do this without drawing.
You're
basically.
standing.
Do you pit lane at Matterly?
Yeah.
Is that inside or outside?
I want to know what you think it is. I know what it is, but I want to know what you think it is.
Technically, it's outside because
do you cross the track to get to pit lane, Lewis? No, you don't.
Oh, but I don't. Okay, you're right.
That worked out exactly how I thought it would, which is just to confuse you to start, and then you would correct it.
No, you're right. Well done.
It's an interesting riddle, though, right? Because if you think about it,
not that far, but
well, I mean, because like you said, there's so many little intricate details on the inside of a track that you could totally confuse yourself and think, well, no, if I cross the track from outside to inside and cross it again, I'm still inside of the middle of the track, but you can easily just walk to the outside in a lot of areas.
Supercross, that's not true.
No, it is. It is because there's no over under bridge. It is.
Yeah, there is. Okay. Veto.
Veto. All right. Well, that's okay, Lewis. We're at halfway anyway, so it works out. All right. Before we get into the second half of the show and hear Lewis's fun topics, remind you guys to check out EVS Sports. Please experience the pinnacle of knee protection and injury prevention with the EVS Web Eclipse knee brace. For over 39 years, EVS has relentlessly honed their engineering expertise, consistently delivering award-winning knee braces. This legacy of excellence is embedded in every facet of the new Web Eclipse, which represents a culmination of their tireless dedication to innovation and rider safety. Use code LVK30 to save 30% off today. All right, Lewis, take it away, buddy.
Okay, first things first. Clyde Wolf is landing in America in 5 days. So
Brilliant.
My very open-ended question, why are you thumbs-upping?
I said brilliant.
Oh, okay. My very open-ended question is, what would you do if you were Clyde Wolf? Because next year he will be in GPs, but there is the option of 450 or 250. And then for 2026 and beyond, there appears to be an option of basically do whatever you want. So what would you do?
He's 20, right?
I don't know.
I think he's 20. He'll be 21 at some point next year.
He's 20. Just 20.
Yeah. I think you come to the U.S. I think you're still young enough. I think that You've won a world title there. And I don't know. It seems to me like there's a growing interest of people trying to make careers here again. And in turn, a growing interest of people here trying to bring riders from Europe over. Like there was I feel like there was just a revolving door at PC for a while and stuff like that of guys coming in. So I think you would take advantage of that, because what's the worst thing that happens? You come here and do like 2-3 years of Supercross, it doesn't work out, and you go back to MXGP when you would have aged out anyway.
Yeah, it's not like the talent pool in MXGP is so deep that you risk being shut out if you come to America. I believe that Kai would always be welcomed back with open arms by a factory team. But what about next year? MX2 or MXGP? I mean, if your plan is America in 2026, it makes 0 sense to go to a 450 next year. 0 sense. Unless you plan on being in America for the rest of your life and you really have this personal checklist of racing a 450 in GPs and you just want to scratch that off so you can say you've done it.
Is that why? So are you describing Lucas Kunin now? Or
no, Lucas Kunin is doing it for egotistical reasons, is my understanding.
Well, you kind of just to scratch this itch is kind of the same thing.
No, because I think to scratch this itch is like, I would hate to end my career and not have done a season of 450s in GPs. I think Lucas Kunin is doing it because he's thinking, I'm going to America in 2026. I know that I can beat everyone on a 450, so let me just show them all what's up before I go.
Can I ask you, because I think you would know this better. Is there a world at all that Kai de Wolf is racing, I guess it'd be a Rockstar. No, it wouldn't, because he's a Red Bull athlete. A Husqvarna of some kind at A1.
I would say no, but then at this point last year, I also would have said no about Prado.
Because the reason I ask is it didn't happen this way with Prado. It kind of, I don't think is going to happen this way with de Wolf, but like, Gas invested all this time and effort to have Prado race Supercross for them, no gain, because he's not going to race a Gas in Supercross next year or in the future for a while. So if you're Husqvarna, does that leave a sour taste in your mouth? Like if you're the KTM group, I guess, that if de Wolf is suddenly over here testing, training, and riding, and he's like, I would like to race A1, would you not jump in front of it and be like, if you do, you have to sign on the dotted line right now that you'll be racing Supercross 2026 under the Rockstar Husky tent?
No, because I believe you can take that even further and say that if they feel that way, they wouldn't even let him do this test. Because it would be like, your contract with us is for MXGP, so until you're out of our contract, we have no interest in helping you scratch whatever itch or urge you have.
So he's coming over here and is testing with Rockstar Husky?
With Husky, yeah. But the Nistan guys are coming with him.
Okay.
I'm also going, so we'll meet up.
Okay. Well, the only reason I asked that is because, again, like, to me, it seems weird that they would put all this time and effort into him for it not to work out. So I almost feel like the answer's already there. Like, of course, he's going to test it and see, like, is it good? Am I good? Or is everything okay? But the fact that he's even willing to come here, try, kind of just points to all the signs that Prado had last year of like, is it going to work? Yep. Okay, great. Here we go.
It's the same as Prado last year, where basically the goal is come here, and as long as he doesn't do what Jeffrey did in 2010 or whatever and literally crash 20 million times, he's coming. Like, it has to go so bad for him to not come to America. So this is basically an experiment to see if it really does go so bad. That simple. If it goes okay, he comes to America. If it goes, I still think he comes to America. The only way he doesn't come to America is if it absolutely is just a complete car crash. Or, like has happened with some Europeans, he spends 2 weeks here and he's like, you know what, I don't really like America and California. I don't want to live here. Which can happen. I'd be surprised because compare it to Lommel at this time of year and it's a dream. But can happen. It's on the table. But yeah, 2 weeks, October the 21st to November the 8th, I think. So quite a big period.
Can I flip it back to you? You asked me if you know, in this situation, what should Kai de Wolf do? What do you think he should do? And also,
When? Next year or the year after?
I'm saying for 2026. Like, should he come? And on top of that, where do you think he should go?
I would say, well, it depends what he wants, because realistically, he could stay in GPs, eventually capitalize on Hurling's retiring, Geyser retiring, Fevre retiring, Coonan's being long gone. So he could, and I'm sure someone pointed this out to him, he could clean up in Europe for quite some time. But you've got to fulfill your heart's desire. And if he really wants to chase the American dream, which I know for a fact, and from knowing Kai since he was on a 125 now, I know that he's very much always had this American urge, then you've got to chase that, because otherwise you end your career with what ifs, and that's not a nice place to be. Kind of the same reason I'm here. So yeah, deep, but yeah.
Deep. Okay, then again, as a further extension of that, because I figured you would say he should come, what team should he ride for? Or should he try to ride for?
Whatever team has the most money, because it's essentially irrelevant. If you stay on a Husky, it's a different setup in Supercross and it's different people. So even staying on Husky doesn't maintain any sense of comfort. So just do whatever offer is most attractive.
I'm more asking not because of the bike. I'm more asking because of the program. Because if he, let's say he does sign with Star and moves to Georgia, trains in Georgia all the time. Let's say he signs with KTM or Husqvarna, moves to Florida, trains with Alden. If he signs with PC, he stays here in California. So, like, don't you think that familiarity-wise, he may want to do something that's similar to his experience he's about to have here for 2 weeks?
I would do whatever allows some flexibility.
Do you
but
think
also not too much flexibility, because you do need the structure to learn Supercross.
Do you think any team he signs for will allow that, though? Or do you think that, like, there's a hard no at Star or a hard no at KTM or whatever?
Do Austria and get on the Chase VL program.
Okay.
That's kind of, I feel like that is a really nice middle ground. Do Pro Circuit and do a Levi program. That's a nice middle ground. What do Pro Circuit and live in California? Pro Circuit isn't so under the thumb with training. Do Pro Circuit and train with Nick. That also could work nicely. I don't believe that you want to do the whole Alden or Star thing. But then my whole viewpoint at the moment is that methodology is cooked. So,
well, I only ask you because like you know Kai a little bit better than I do. He seems to be more laid back.
This is the coming up of Lewis.
He seems to be
Europeans from everywhere we look. Just you wait until post-race at Anaheim one year, and you're like, I don't know anyone. I don't know who to interview. And I'm like, bam, 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 just like a GP. It's amazing.
We're going to see Barsha everywhere?
What?
Bam, 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 bam.
Okay, it took me a while.
Okay. There you go, Lewis. Okay.
There's another European.
Now he's European because he does a Western Beach race and married a British.
No, there is another European testing an American bike tomorrow.
Oh. In Europe, though?
No.
Oh, here?
And in America today.
Oh.
Yep.
Does he have a wagon?
No.
Oh, okay.
I would have hyped it up a lot more.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, continue, sir. Topic 2. Yeah, and the timer's up.
I thought you meant continue what I was saying. Well, this was an Australian Supercross topic, but I feel like, do we really want to do this again?
I don't know. Did we already cover everything from Australia or no?
Mine was a wider topic of, is it actually to the detriment of Australian Supercross to have Dean, Joey, McElrath there?
Because it diminishes like what their riders can do? Or
because going back to what I said about how I want to be invested in something, when you look at the series and you see these names on top, we all know subconsciously that this is not their priority. This is their holiday, I'm just going to clean up and take money. So does that not subconsciously send a message to us that this doesn't matter because this rider who is on holiday is winning?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously if they're winning comfortably, it doesn't look great for them, but I don't think that it's correct to assume that them being there is always just a holiday because they're going to make a lot of money. And for some of them, it actually means a lot. Like Dean Wilson, I think, cares about winning an Australian Supercross title. So no, the answer to my question, or to your question, is no, it's not a bad thing. Because if at any...
That's very black and white. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm almost saying, does it send a subconscious messaging out that, like, would the optics of the situation be better if it was Beaton and Tanti battling to the death for the championship, and this is their number one priority, this is what they are going for, this is their whole year revolves around this? Does that messaging heighten the series, the optics, versus Dean's just come over in his winter, in his free time, to clean up and make money because now he can.
I mean, maybe on a local level, but on a broader picture level, no. Because look, like Australian Nationals this year, I watched a fair decent amount of them, and I thought, like, damn, these guys are hauling ass. Like, look at how fast Jed Beaton's riding. Look at how fast Kyle Webster's riding. And I don't feel like anybody cared until Webster came over here and raced Redbud. And then suddenly now he's on the Nations team and all that. So, like, okay, maybe the Australians down there are like, dude, you guys got to see how good our riders are. But we can't, the rest of the world can't even begin to formulate an opinion on that until they compete against other riders that we're familiar with.
Okay, that's exactly true. And if it was Webster versus Dean in this all-out battle that eventually results in a tie, yes. But if it was Webster and Beaton in the same battle just for second because Dean is 30 seconds ahead every week, that devalues everyone and everything.
You're saying from like a fanfare point of view, there's not a lot of hype.
What I'm saying, to be honest with you. Oh, okay. I haven't taken my meds today, so I'm not really, that was a joke.
We can't do hashtag who's next is what you're saying.
No, I don't know. It's not like I'm coming into this with a loaded gun of opinions and like, this is what I'm thinking. I'm kind of just thinking out loud. I don't really know where I stand on it either. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think end. All right. Well, my opinion of it is no, it's great to have them there because Australian fans get to actually see those guys, which they normally don't get to. And then those Australian riders get to race against them, in my opinion, get better because they're there, and then potentially build into a spot where if they want, they could come over here and race full time.
Yeah, from a sporting perspective, superb. Yeah. From an editorial perspective, maybe less so.
I just think that, yeah, you're diminishing a little bit of like potential fanfare with it. But
then also, would RacerX, Vital MX, all of these websites really be covering the series if Dean, Joey, McElrath weren't there? So maybe it is just win-win-win with some slight blemishes.
Yeah, and to the point that you just mentioned right there, almost nobody talked about Australian motocross anywhere else except Australia.
Okay, fair, but also was that not because clashes and we were all very busy, whereas now we are not? Like, if right now MXGP, okay, this is the most superb argument I've ever made because you cannot dispute this. If MXGP, American Motocross, were still going, we're not doing 2 Australian Supercross topics.
Okay, I guess.
So, and if Australian Motocross was happening right now, we are probably all in on this title fight and doing 2 topics about that.
I don't think so, because let me ask you this. Yes or no, you know who won the Canadian MX2 title this year?
No, but Canada is below on my pecking order, Australia is above that on my priority list.
So you don't remember the title battle, the drama, nothing?
I remember Drew Adams was there, Kevin Benoit won, didn't he? Yeah.
So you know who won? Who won Australian motocross?
Brody Connolly.
Okay, good. You actually do know. I don't think many people know that.
No, but again, that's where, once again, as I say,
they were racing at the same time, Lewis. You just defeated your own point, though. More people know about.
I'm not defeating my own point because I know. The only way I defeated my own point is if I didn't know.
You know, but I don't think many people know who Brody Connolly is. But they do know who Kevin Benoit and Drew Adams are because
that's because it's closer to America. So America is not a fair polling on this. You would almost have to ask Europeans what they know, because I feel like America takes Canada under its wing a little more, like puts one eye on it. So it's not exactly an impartial polling station.
Okay. I disagree, but yes, go ahead.
What, next topic?
Yes.
Okay, it's time for the popular return of Am I a Dick?
Oh, here we go.
And this is actually a superb one because this is a real life scenario where I have been the victim of a hate crime. And I'm now going to, for the first time, speak publicly with my tell-all story, which is hard for me to do, but with the love and support of Kellen, I will...
I'm here for you, buddy.
Power through and hopefully do it. So backstory. I left for the Motocross of Nations on Monday beforehand. It's very important that we have the dates here. The Monday before the Nations, I left. My apartment block does not have designated spots per apartment. Whereas in California, with my apartment, they were like, this is your spot, you only park here.
Yep.
This place, it's open season, park wherever you want. And this place is a lot bigger. There's shit tons of parking. Like, there's a lot of apartments, a lot of parking. It's like a resort, I'd say. So park wherever you want. When I left for the Nations, this spot, which was essentially the closest to my apartment, was free. So I just swung my car in there, left it there. I'm 10 minutes from the airport, so I Ubered to the airport. Left my car there, happy as Larry. Who cares? Who cares? I was meant to be gone for 8 days. I was eventually gone for 11 days because of the hurricane. My flight got cancelled. But that's besides the point, but it's important that you know this when I read out my hate letter that I got. So I return, and there's a note on my car. It reads, maybe don't park your car in the best spot. Now, this is, I'm going to have to pause us here as I question, I'm not this fucking stupid where I'm in a car park or a parking lot and going, oh, that's the best spot. I'm not fucking Goldilocks. This spot's too good, this spot's too bad, this spot's just right. Kind of just going for a spot. I wasn't in a disabled spot. It was open season. This was a perfectly available spot to everyone. So I'm questioning who awarded this position the best spot. Who technically I was under a tree, which put me at risk in the hurricane, which technically means I was protecting my neighbors from an at-risk position. You don't see a thank you letter on my car, though, do you? Anyway, I continue. Maybe don't park your car in the best spot right in front of people's homes for weeks. Now, I have to pause again here because we have some factual inaccuracies in the note. For weeks. I was technically gone for 11 days. So that's not weeks plural, because I feel for us to warrant that tag has to be 2 weeks. I feel like days would be more appropriate. Or if you prefer, 1 week and days. No?
Technically, yes, Lewis.
Thank you. In front of people's homes, and now I don't want to call attention to the fact that people's is missing an apostrophe because that would be silly. But if they want me to take it seriously, grammar is important. And if I knew who wrote this, I would raise that. In front of people's homes. We're all parked in front of people's homes. Where do they want me to park? Like, how hard would it be for me to find a parking spot on planet Earth that was not in front of a home? Is that not every parking spot everywhere in the world?
No, like shopping centers and stuff, but
obviously not there, but residential.
Yeah.
Like, if I had parked to the right, I'm also in front of people's homes. I'm in front of my home, most importantly.
Yeah.
I'm not on the other side of the complex. I'm literally essentially the closest I can get to my apartment. And not because I deemed it the best spot, because it was open and I went, fuck it, I'll swing it in here. The note continues. Maybe a little farther back at the very least. Now, this is where they really decided to get specific. They weren't happy with how far forward in the spot I was. And I do have a photo, which I'm happy to share for some breaking down of this situation.
Are you sure they don't mean farther back in the parking lot?
No, they mean because I was, to be honest, I did go quite far forward. But I wasn't.
Does that matter? Oh, you mean because you're running into a spot on the other side? No,
because I was at the sidewalk, the curb.
Why does that matter how far forward you went?
Why does any of this matter, Kellen? We're not dealing with someone who's fucking... And also, we haven't even got to the hate crime yet. This is a pre... Anyway. maybe a little farther back at the very least. Be better. And then they've drawn. Wait, hold on. They've drawn a man giving me the middle finger.
Oh my God, dude. Hold on. Actually, move that more middle of the screen because I think it's just off on our cameras, but.
Let me turn my brightness up as well.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. What the hell?
So at this point, I'm alarmed because let's be honest, if I want to get into the specifics, I am a minority here. So this is a hate crime. Attacking the minority. So that hurts me. Then as time moves by and I'm starting to come to terms with this letter and all that's happened and, the emotions of the situation, I find Haribo stuck all over my car.
Like the gummies?
Yep, I have evidence here.
So they just put gummies on your car?
Yeah, I'm not sure why. But again, we're not dealing with someone who's of sound mind. Which, again, I don't want to complain, but it actually was really hard to get off because it had melted a little bit. And no one will ever have experienced this, but when Haribo melts on a car, it's really fucking difficult to get off. It took me an hour.
Jeez.
So,
do you think they were like watching from their window going like
because I went to a car wash.
okay.
But I live now, and this is I'm not a violent man. But let me tell you with aplomb, I don't think that's the right context, but let me tell you with adamant to adamant. What am I trying to say?
I don't know, bro.
Let me tell you with absolute certainty, my whole personality and life now revolves in taking that parking spot every fucking time. That is now my spot. And this person will have to deal with that for the rest of their life. As I said, at no point have I looked around the parking lot and gone, that's the best spot, that's the worst spot, this spot's just right. But oh no, now, that's my spot. And when I first got in my car, when I got back, left the spot, eventually returned and realized the spot was still open. Did I go even further forward than the previous time? Yes, I did. Because this is war. So am I the dick? No, this other person is.
I don't understand what they mean by go further forward. Like, are they going to walk in front of your car?
Hold on, I've got a photo.
Like, is there a pathway that you're crossing over or something?
I've got a photo. Hold on.
Oh, Lewis, how does this keep happening to you?
So this is where the car was parked, and as you can see, the front of the car is over the curb, but it doesn't really...
I guess okay, I see. Yeah, you're like in the bushes a little bit there. For context, for people listening on audio, the thing that he showed on the piece of paper before is like this little circular guy flipping off the camera. Or flipping the camera, flipping off on the piece of paper. He's got a middle finger up, and it's like it's a shrewd little cartoon character. Now Lewis just showed me his car. I don't know, maybe the nose of it a foot over the curb into a bush.
If you want to be like very particular and judge the best parking possible, I probably should have been 20 centimeters further back. But who really cares?
I was assuming that you were like blocking a pathway, though. That one looks like you've maybe got a quarter panel on the path.
In a spot. Oh, the way she described it, I presume it's a Karen. Maybe it's a Keith. It's like I've mounted a curb, GTA style, and abandoned my car in someone's living room.
Yeah. I don't understand, Liz.
I don't know what I did. Apparently at some point I fucking crossed over an ancient burial ground or something and generated a curse. So here I am.
I will say that, like, yes, this happening to you is ridiculous because it keeps happening to you specifically, but I've seen stuff like that before. This isn't new. Like, I lived in an apartment complex 5 years ago, and no, it never happened to my truck, but I have seen people do that, like leave notes on other people's cars about like, don't park like this. You look like you parked in 2 spots, you wanker, that kind of stuff. So
I really wanted to leave a note on my car, underneath my wiper, but basically just leave a bit of paper that said, "What's up, Karen? This is my fucking spot now." But I decided to be the bigger man. and just do it subtly.
Yeah, the bigger man by constantly parking in that spot.
I got back 3 days ago, and I'm happy to confirm that at this present moment in time, I am in the spot.
Great. Beautiful.
So, yep. I realized this as I let it kind of marinate a little bit. Imagine, because if this person's going to work each day, maybe I did leave for an hour each day and then came back in the same spot. They must have been really keeping tabs on whether the car moved for weeks.
Well, I mean, you have to understand that at that point in time, anybody who stayed back and lived through the hurricane was indoors a lot. So they probably just were like, there's that car again. There's that car again. There's that car again. Like every time they looked out their window, like you should have looked around. They're probably looking out the window at you when you park there every time.
Well, did I survive trees in the hurricane? Yes, I did. Did I survive water? Yes, I did. Did I survive Haribo? No. And you know what? They never warn you about Haribo. They always warn you about the trees and the flooding, but they never warn you about Haribo. So in future, everyone, if there's one thing I can really pass on to you as a victim, it's watch out for Haribo, because Haribo can do damage.
Yeah.
And end of broadcast.
End of broadcast. We have just a tiny bit of time here at the end. Do you, because we may not have a show next week, want to talk anything about WSX coming up? Who's in it? Who's going to do well? Champion predictions? Anything?
Kenny and Tomac will do well. Max will do well at Vancouver, but they're not at the following rounds because he's not racing. And that's what you need to know. Unfortunately, it's not going to be very competitive because Kenny and Tomac are so much better.
So it's going to be the Savachi Wilson show, but in WSX? Yeah,
but I mean, realistically, and maybe this isn't how it's going to exactly play out, but I do foresee Tomac winning 90% of the races. Put it this way, if Kenny wins, then I'm suddenly interested, because that's kind of against the script a little bit.
I don't know that I would put it that far. Like, yes, Tomac is probably better right now, but I don't know. I feel like Roxon was just as good in Supercross, especially earlier this year.
Yeah, but I feel like Tomac now is so much better than Tomac in Supercross.
I suppose, but who knows?
Whereas I would argue that Roxon now is maybe a bit worse than Roxon in Supercross.
I guess. Yeah, recent SMX results, I guess, suggest that, but I don't know. I still feel like once you actually have Supercross, it's going to be a little bit different than SMX. Like, not that Tomac's going to suck again, but I just don't think it's going to be what we're seeing at the moment.
I would put money right now. Tomac wins Anaheim 1.
Really? That far ahead? Okay. Wow.
And don't let me sway from this. I don't know about. I don't think championship, but Tomac wins Anaheim 1.
Well, we all just wrote that down, Lewis. How much money would you put down on Tomac winning Anaheim 1?
Honestly, quite a lot. I'm really quite confident.
Wow.
Yeah. Tomac wins Anaheim 1.
Fancy a number?
Of money?
Yeah. 500?
Sure.
Okay. $500. Lewis Phillips says Eli Tomac's going to win Anaheim 1. Interesting. So you think that he's going to, I don't want to say walk, but will fairly easily win the WSX title?
Yeah.
Okay. And
is that really that controversial?
I don't know if it's controversial. I just don't feel like it's as glaring disparagement between he and Kenny as you're making it sound. But I don't know. I could be dead wrong.
I'm talking like Tomac will be 4 seconds up. You know, like not walk it, but just ahead.
Fair enough. So, I mean, the first round in Vancouver, could get my mind right there for a second. The track looks very good, like Supercross type track, not Abu Dhabi. So
no, but apart from Abu Dhabi, they've been fine. I mean, there isn't exactly that much.
I feel like they've been basic.
Well, it depends on the build, I think, because a lot of the track maps have looked fine, and then the build has been really weird. So it depends on the build. Has to be Supercross spec.
So there's every chance that the build could just be meh.
I'm really interested to see what they do in Abu Dhabi, because there's no way they can maximize that space, but they're going to try. So I'm interested to see what ideas they've got to, like, is there going to be like, I don't know what they can do, but
I think they need to basically almost run the same track back they had last year, but take away the little S turn before leaving the arena out, because that sucked.
Or maybe I was there, lest we forget. there's not really room for them to do more outside, but maybe they can find a way to extend it by one more turn outside. I don't know.
You just accept the fact that it's a glorified arena cross and move on, and it's a 22-second lap time.
Don't try and like last year, the powers that be who are no longer involved were very adamant. They're like, this is Supercross. Like, they weren't willing to fall on their sword and be like, yeah, hey, look, this isn't ideal, but we're here for these reasons. They were almost too aggressive.
Yeah,
like you say, accept what it is. But yeah, so we've covered Anaheim 1 winner. We've covered all the way to WSX's last round. I'll see you in January, Kellen.
Yeah, we're done. We're good. But no, it's good to see you again, Lewis, and glad that you had a great time in the UK. I listened to the Pulp MX of Nations shows. They were very funny, and you guys should definitely check it out on this feed, actually. It's on the Steve Mathis Show feed. So those are good. Your Watson takes definitely carried a lot of frustrations with JT and Steve, but
honestly, it was so accurate.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I guess we won't see because he won't be here, but
we will see. He's doing an outdoor.
One round. Yep. But it's good times. And glad that you had fun. Glad that you're back safe in the US as well. And I guess I'll see you in a couple weeks then, buddy.
I'm safe. I am the victim of a hate crime.
Well, you're living under a roof that has not gotten blown off. Your electricity's on. All good news. Hopefully everyone else around you is still doing okay as well. So,
except for that nut job.
Okay. Anyway, this has been the EVS Sports LVK More Than Moto show. Thanks to EVS, Namura, and Racetech for backing it. Lewis, thanks for joining me. And we'll see you guys probably in a few weeks to rehash some more WSX Australian topics and all the other stuff to get ready for Anaheim 1 in 2024. See you guys.